God says your mother who passed away has been begging to tell you something urgent. Open this as soon as it appears before you. Her words may bring the peace your heart has been waiting for. A message from her has finally found its way to you, carrying something your heart needs to hear. My beloved child, the longing for your mother often returns during the moments when you feel weakest, and today, I want you to know that genuine love is not erased from the heart simply because someone has departed from this world. There are days when you believe you have become strong enough to continue, only for a familiar fragrance, an old song, or an unexpected emptiness in the house to cause the pain to rise as though it had never grown quiet. Do not be ashamed of those tears. They do not mean that you are weak. They reveal that you were deeply loved and are still learning how to live with an absence that feels immeasurably great. I do not urge you to forget, nor do I ask you to lock away your memories in order to appear peaceful. I only want you to stop standing alone in your grief, because I am still near, supporting you through every heavy breath. Your mother completed her portion of the journey in this life, but the good things she planted within you continue to live. The way you care, the way you look after your family, and the way you still try to rise after difficult days, all carry traces of the love she gave you. Perhaps she did not have time to say everything, or perhaps there are still unfinished stories between you. You may still carry an apology. You never spoke a question without an answer, or the wish to hold her one more time. I know every one of those empty spaces. I do not consider them insignificant, and I do not want you to turn them into a sentence against yourself. What you did not have time to do cannot erase the love that existed throughout the years you were given together. You often wonder whether your mother knows how you have lived since the day she left. You want her to see your quiet efforts, the times you were so tired that you wanted to give up but continued because of your responsibilities. You wish she could have been present during the days when you achieved something small, when you needed advice, or when you stood before a decision without knowing which direction to take. I understand that longing, but instead of allowing that emptiness to drown you, let the values she passed on become a gentle voice within your heart. When you are uncertain, remember how she wanted you to live with integrity. When you become discouraged, remember the faith with which she once looked at you. When you are wounded, remember the compassion she taught you. In this way, love will no longer be only a memory that causes pain. It will become a source of strength that helps you continue. I want you to know that peace does not mean you will no longer miss your mother. Peace is being able to speak her name without your heart completely breaking apart. It is looking back at a beautiful memory and smiling through tears. It is ceasing to blame yourself, because some days you still experience joy, still laughed and continue building your life. You do not betray your mother by living well. You do not forget her when you open your heart to new happiness. On the contrary, each time you care for yourself, love your family and choose what is healthy, you honor what she once cultivated. A mother who truly loved you would not want you to build a home inside grief and remain there for the rest of your life. Her love would always desire that you live, heal, and become the best version of yourself. You have carried battles alone that no one fully understood. You had to remain strong during days when you no longer had anyone to call mother. Sometimes you wanted to share something and then suddenly remembered that the person who once listened so patiently was no longer sitting in her familiar place. That realization can hurt more deeply than words can express. But my beloved child, do not allow loneliness to convince you that no one cares anymore. I am still placing people around you who can love, accompany, and listen to you. Even though they can never replace your mother, allow yourself to open your heart to healthy relationships. Do not reject care simply because it does not come in the form you once knew. Love may appear through a relative who asks how you are, a friend who sits beside you without needing to say much, or a hand extended when you thought you had to rise alone. I also want to heal what remains unfinished between you and your mother. Perhaps your relationship did not consist only of gentle memories. There may have been words that wounded you, distances that were never bridged, or moments when neither of you understood the other. You do not need to beautify every memory in order to prove that you loved her. You can remain grateful for what was good while acknowledging the wounds that existed. Allow yourself to forgive at an honest pace without force. Forgiveness is not denying what happened. It is refusing to allow it to continue governing your heart. If there are words you still need to say, write them down. Let the pages become a place where you lay down anger, regret, and everything you can no longer place directly into her hands. I will meet you in that honesty and help you transform what remains tangled into mature peace. Do not search for your mother in every small sign until your mind becomes trapped in anxiety. A dream, a number, or a coincidence may awaken a memory, but they do not need to become burdens that you must decode. Genuine love does not force you to live in fear that you might miss a message. What your mother gave you is not hidden in mysterious codes. It has already been written into the way you live, the way you love, and the way you face hardship. When you choose gentleness instead of bitterness, when you protect your family and refuse to repeat former wounds, you allow what was good in your mother to continue spreading. That connection is deeper and more enduring than any temporary sign. You do not need to perform a public act to prove your love, faith, or remembrance. I see something deeper than a comment or a click. I see the way you preserve small keepsakes, the way you quietly speak your mother's name on meaningful days, and the way you try to live kindly because you know that is what she once hoped for you. I also see the moments when you are too exhausted to pray or do not want to speak with anyone. Even then, you are still held in compassion. No ritual can make me love you more, and no moment of weakness can make me turn my face away. Believe that your mother is within my peace, no longer carrying the worries, pain, and limitations of her former life. You do not need to imagine her watching each mistake with sadness. Remember her through light, gratitude, and freedom. If there were one thing she would desire for you, it would not be the pressure to live perfectly, but the reminder to care for yourself. Love those who remain and refuse to waste precious days in guilt. You were once a source of joy to her, and that value does not disappear because you sometimes stumble. You are still learning, still growing, and still permitted to begin again. I know there are days when grief suddenly returns with greater force. Do not assume that you have failed to heal. Loss does not move in a straight line. Some days you feel peaceful. On others, one small memory causes tears to flow again. Treat yourself gently during those days. Rest when needed, find someone to speak with, and do not imprison yourself in silence for too long. If grief becomes so heavy that you cannot function or lose all hope, seek appropriate support. I can use someone who knows how to listen, a safe conversation, or professional guidance to help you through the darkness. You do not need to prove your strength by suffering alone. Let the memory of your mother become a garden you care for, not a locked room in which you remain forever. Preserve what warms your heart. Tell the beautiful stories to the next generation and continue the values she gave you, but also allow yourself to plant new seeds. There are still people who need your love, roads you need to walk, and days I am still placing before you. Your life did not stop when your mother left. A part of you changed forever, but that change does not have to produce only sorrow. It can make you deeper, teach you to value time, and help you speak love while there is still an opportunity. I am holding your mother in peace and holding you within my gentle embrace. You no longer walk together upon a visible road, but the love she planted accompanies you through every good decision. Live in a way that makes your heart lighter, not to prove anything to the one who has passed, but to honor the gift of life still held in your hands. Forgive what remained unfinished, give thanks for what you had, and continue without feeling that you are leaving your mother behind. You do not abandon her by moving forward. You carry the most beautiful part of her through the way you live. I remain here whenever the longing returns. I will sit with you in the silence, support you through anniversaries, and remind you that separation cannot erase love. Allow your heart to rest in that truth. Your mother has been entrusted to my care, while you are still being guided along your own path. Do not fear tomorrow. Live love and continue building what is good. Every peaceful step you take is an expression of gratitude for the love that nurtured you, and every day you choose. Hope is a way for your mother's story to keep blossoming within your life. The love your mother planted did not end on the day she departed from this world, because what is genuinely born from love continues supporting you through every season. Many times you believed that because you could no longer hear her voice or see her presence in the familiar home, you had to face every burden by yourself. But I want you to understand that her teachings, sacrifices, patience, and faith in you still quietly live in the way you walk. Each time you choose not to give up, each time you care for your family despite your exhaustion, and each time you remain gentle in a world filled with coldness, you are carrying the most beautiful part of your mother. That love is not a shadow holding you in the past. It is a light helping you move forward with steadiness and gratitude. I know the needs you have never spoken. I know the financial pressure that keeps you awake at night, the concerns about health that quietly return, and the relationships you want to preserve, even though they increasingly drain you. Your mother saw some of these things while she was beside you, and she always hoped that you would experience more peace than you allowed yourself to receive. Therefore, do not believe that continuing to live, seek stability, and build a future means leaving her behind. Every step toward a healthier life honors the love she gave you. Each time you manage what you have wisely, care for your body, protect your mind, and choose companions carefully, you continue what she desired for your life. I do not want you to live in fear of curses, inherited burdens, or mysterious powers that you believe are controlling your future. Painful patterns may have passed through several generations, but they are not an unchangeable destiny. If your family lived through scarcity, you can learn to manage money wisely. If those before you used words to wound one another, you can choose gentler language. If silence, anger, or abandonment repeated for many years, you can become the first person to stop the cycle. Restoration begins when you stop saying that you must live according to what you witnessed and courageously build a new path. Through decisions repeated each day, My provision for you is not limited to an unexpected sum of money. I may open a way through suitable employment, a learning opportunity, timely guidance, or a decision that helps you stop losing what you already have. Sometimes the answer comes when you courageously face the numbers and an unwise spending habit and begin building through small steps. Sometimes a new door appears only after you agree to leave the place that kept you afraid for too long. Do not wait for a dramatic transformation while overlooking the wisdom already before you. I do not merely want to bring resources into your hands. I want you to become mature enough to manage them with gratitude, responsibility, and good purpose. Do not assume that every sudden sensation upon your skin, passing warmth or unexpected thought must be explained as a sign from an unseen realm. Longing can move through your body in very real ways. An old memory can return at an unexpected moment, making your heart feel both warm and painfully tender. Receive those moments without needing to decode them immediately. You can smile, cry, or sit quietly while remembering your mother with gratitude. Love does not require mysterious evidence in order to be real. It was present throughout the years when she cared for you, in the lessons that remain, and in the tenderness with which you still speak her name. When you feel lonely, remember that I do not require you to suffer alone in order to prove that you are strong. I can support you through a listening friend, a sincere relative, a safe community, or a professional who helps you untangle long-lasting pain. Do not close every door simply because the person you most desire beside you is no longer present in the same way. No one can replace your mother, but there are still people placed near you to share the present road. Allow yourself to receive care. Speak honestly when you are tired. Ask for help when the burden exceeds your strength, and stop believing that your value lies in your ability to solve everything alone. I protect you not by promising that you will never encounter difficulty, but by building enough strength within you that hardship cannot destroy you. Some of the greatest attacks do not come from outside, but from the accusations you repeatedly speak against yourself. You call yourself a failure when a plan does not succeed. Believe you have been abandoned when someone leaves, and conclude that your future is closed simply because the present still contains scarcity. I want to stop those arrows before they sink deeply into your heart. Replace self-contempt with truth. You are learning, not useless. You are recovering, not losing. You may be moving slowly, but that does not mean you are standing still. Your mother would not want you to use the pain of losing her as a reason to reject every joy. She would not want you to remain forever inside a room of regret, watching life pass while being afraid to live. Honor her by caring for the days still in your hands. Eat well, rest when exhausted. Speak words of love while there is still time, and do not delay reconciliation with those who genuinely matter. Create new memories without guilt. You do not betray former love by welcoming new happiness. A heart can preserve remembrance while still opening to what is good ahead. I can transform loss into deep maturity. But that does not mean I call the loss itself good. I simply refuse to allow it to take everything from you through years of longing. You can learn to value the presence of others from the words you never had time to say to your mother. You can learn to express love sooner. From the feeling of being left behind, you can become someone who knows how to remain with others during their weakest hours. Pain does not need to become the home in which you live. It can become a bridge leading you toward compassion, wisdom, and a deeper way of living. The vindication I bring you does not necessarily mean that everyone who hurt you will admit they're wrong. Some people will never understand. Some will never return, and others may continue seeing you through the past. But you do not need them to change before you can be free. I will help you leave behind the need for approval from those who never knew how to value you. When you live peacefully, manage your life more wisely, remain kind, and refuse to return to old cycles, that life will speak on your behalf. No accusation can endure forever against a journey built through consistency and integrity, my beloved child. Do not place your faith in a number, a comment, or an external action. I do not need you to write anything to prove that you believe. I look at the way you face tomorrow. Are you willing to care for what has been neglected? Will you end a habit that is depleting you? Will you open your heart to support and stop using silence to hide pain? These choices are the most powerful declaration. Faith is not only expecting a season of miracles, it is living as someone who believes their life is worth protecting and their future is still worth building. I am leading you from emptiness toward an abundance that is not measured only by money. It is the place where your heart no longer trembles before every change, where you can sleep without carrying all of tomorrow into tonight, where you know who deserves to come close and what needs to be laid down. True prosperity is having enough peace, not to exchange dignity for an opportunity, enough discernment not to chase empty promises, and enough generosity to share after you have been strengthened. I want you to have more, but I also want you to become someone who knows what is truly worth preserving. Let the longing for your mother remind you that you were once deeply loved, not convince you that you must remain lonely forever. Let what she gave you become a foundation for the way you live today. I am still guiding you through concerns about finances, health, family, and your mind. You do not need to see the whole road before taking the next step. Remain faithful to what is before you. Humble enough to receive help and courageous enough not to return to what once broke you. I am holding you in compassion while your mother's love continues blossoming through every good seed you plant. From the place that once held only tears, I will help you build a life of peace, order, dignity, and enduring hope. My child, do not allow guilt, regret, or fear to bind your feet to the days that have passed, because your life still has a broad road ahead. I know there are nights when you lie still while your heart repeatedly returns to old memories. You remember what you said, what you failed to say, the times you could have stayed with your mother longer, treated her more gently, or expressed your love more clearly. You ask whether you did enough, whether she was ever saddened by you, and how many things you would change if time could return. But my beloved, you cannot heal today by continually punishing yourself for yesterday. What past must be faced honestly, but it must not become a prison for the remainder of your life. I see the love you had for your mother, even when it was hidden beneath exhaustion, misunderstanding, or very human limitations. Love is not measured only by the number of times beautiful words were spoken. It also lived in the small things you did, the times you worried, the moments of quiet care, and the longing that remains so deep today. Perhaps you and your mother had days when you did not understand each other, spoke words that caused pain, or allowed distance to remain longer than either of you desired. But a real relationship does not consist only of perfect moments. It carries joy, shortcomings, forgiveness, and unfinished things. I do not want you to stare only at what was incomplete and forget an entire journey built through love. Let forgiveness begin when you stop fighting against yourself. You can admit that you made mistakes without calling yourself unworthy. You can regret a decision without using it to deny all your value. If there is something for which you need to apologize, speak it quietly to me, write it down, or share it with someone trustworthy. But after you have acknowledged it and learned what must be learned, allow the wound to close. I do not want you to reopen it each day, merely to prove that you still love your mother. Love does not require you to hurt forever. Genuine remembrance does not demand that you live in guilt. You can love your mother deeply while continuing forward, laughing, welcoming joy, and building a beautiful future. If your mother could express what she most desired for you, she would not want to see you spend the rest of your life punishing yourself. She would want you to live fully within the days you have, care for your health, protect your relationships, and refuse to repeat what once created distance. She would want you to speak love while there is still time, apologize when necessary, and not allow pride to make you lose those who matter. Transform longing into a better way of living. When you are gentle with others, value time, and stop treating the presence of loved ones as something guaranteed, you allow the love your mother gave you to keep bearing fruit. I am drying your tears not by erasing memory, but by helping you look back without being crushed by it. There will still be days when you miss your mother so deeply that you can barely breathe. An old object, a familiar voice, or an anniversary may bring every emotion back. Do not think that you are moving backward. Healing is not a straight line. It contains peaceful days and days filled with tears. What matters is that you do not remain alone within those emotions. Allow yourself to cry when necessary, rest when tired, and seek support when grief becomes too heavy. I can use someone who listens, an honest conversation, or professional support to help you through the most painful places. The secrets you have carried do not need to remain heavy forever. Perhaps you are holding something you never shared because you feared being misunderstood. Perhaps you feel that you must always be strong, so your family will not worry more. But prolonged silence can turn a small burden into an enormous wall. Find the right person, place, and moment to speak. You do not need to tell everyone everything, but neither must you continue living as though no one can accompany you. Peace often begins when what has been hidden is brought safely, honestly, and wisely into the light. I also know financial pressure has repeatedly stolen your sleep. You lie down while your mind continues calculating expenses, unfinished obligations, and an uncertain future. I do not dismiss those practical concerns, but I want you to stop allowing them to consume all your strength. Deliverance may begin when you look honestly at your circumstances, reorganize necessities, remove what no longer fits, and seek realistic opportunities. Do not be ashamed to ask for guidance. Do not overlook small acts of discipline because you desire immediate change. I can open a way through new employment, a mentor, a wise decision, or an ability you neglected for too long. What has been blocked may begin to move when you dare to change the way you have been acting. Some doors remain closed, not because you have been rejected, but because you continue using the wrong key. Perhaps you need to learn more, ask more questions, try a different direction, or leave a place that has kept you limited. I do not promise that every loss will return in its old form, but I can help you receive something deeper than what was lost. Wisdom, self-respect, discernment, and a stronger foundation. Some things you long to regain would only wound you again if they returned. Therefore, restoration does not always mean recovering what was old. Sometimes it means being guided towards something new and healthier. Do not wait for a miracle while refusing to do your part. Pray, but also act. Trust, but also examine reality. Hope, but do not surrender your heart to unsupported promises. I do not want you exploited by those who use desperation to sell an easy escape. What is good does not need to drive you into panic or require a number or public action to prove your faith. I see faith in the way you live, honestly, persistently, and responsibly before results appear. Being protected does not mean you will never encounter trials. The protection I give is often the discernment that keeps you from a dangerous decision, the courage that leads you away from what is unsafe, or someone who warns you before it is too late. Sometimes I protect you by closing a door you desperately wanted to enter. Sometimes I preserve you by slowing a plan so that you can notice what was hidden. Therefore, do not look for protection only in extraordinary events. Recognize it in healthy boundaries, sincere counsel, and the ability to stop at the right time. I am the one who can open a road where you believe none remains, but often that road begins with one small step from you. Rise from bed on a difficult morning, complete the most important task, instead of allowing anxiety to paralyze you. Speak clearly with the person connected to your finances or responsibilities. Care for your health rather than continually postponing it. Leave sources of information that fill your mind with confusion. As you remain faithful in small steps, a new direction will gradually open. My beloved child, allow my peace to pass through the places where you have held too much shame. You do not need to spend your whole life paying for what has already been acknowledged and corrected. You are not a bad person because there were times when you did not know how to love. Well, you are a human being who is growing and learning to live more deeply through what has been lost. Forgive yourself, not because everything in the past was right, but because you cannot transform the future while spending all your strength condemning yourself. Your mother gave you life for one portion of the journey, and now you must continue preserving that gift. Live so that the love she gave does not become a chain pulling you backward, but wings helping you move ahead. Care for those still beside you. Say what needs to be said before it is too late. Choose peace instead of meaningless conflict. Whenever longing returns, remember that you do not need to prove love through suffering. You can remember your mother through a life lived well, honestly, and compassionately. I am with you throughout this process. I will help you release each burden, correct what has fallen out of alignment, and rebuild what has collapsed. Goodness may not arrive in a single night, but it can begin today when you decide that guilt and fear will no longer control you. Sleep in the peace of knowing you have been seen. Awaken with faith that you still have opportunities. Financial pressure, regret, and loneliness are not the ending. I am teaching you to move through them with wisdom, courage, and a forgiving heart. Continue forward, because the rest of your life was not created to become a dwelling place for guilt, but a place where love, maturity, and hope continue to blossom.